right, thank you so much here at the program this morning on ITV. Now we have Destiny Owobu, another foremost economist, joining us on the program this morning. Mr. Destiny, you're welcome.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Good
Now,
morning,
we are looking at the current release by the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, inflation rate 24.8% from 22.0% now. We'll be trying to do some explanation here. And from his own opinion now, he has said that, that's Kalamen's opinion, that inflation is cost-push inflation at this time. Some analysts will say that okay, basically there are two types of inflation. You have the demand push inflation, and of course you have the cost push inflation. So from your own opinion, what do you think is responsible for this inflation?
Of course, when we talk about demand and supply, we're looking at companies and the buyers. But this one is a little bit more than just cost push. It's structural. When something affects the whole economy because of a single most important variable, something like petrol, it becomes structural.
So petrol is responsible for this now?
Petrol and the foreign exchange rate. Those are the two principal causes of this inflation we are seeing now. You know, how do you jump? Petrol is a major input in most of the production that happens in this country. So when the price of a single most important input increases that affects 70% of the economy, we don't just say cost push, we call that structural because it affects the entire economy. So anything that happens to the petroleum sector moves across Nigeria because we depend solely on it. We have 12 million vehicles in this country. We have over 50,000 generators. So you can imagine the spillover effect of when you jump the price of that product by a single unit. It's going to snowball throughout the economy. It's going to spiral throughout. So, and we also look at the exchange rate too. Most of our products are import dependent. Nigeria is about 70% import dependent. So if anything happens to the dollar price relative to the naira, it's going to jump straight to the economy. So these are the twin forces that are pushing these prices up. You know, even that figure that you see that was published, if you ask the people on the street, they will tell you it is a little bit conservative because the prices of petroleum products increased by over 100%.
Yeah.
The price of the dollar in 4 months increased over 100%.
Yeah.
So we should expect that it should snowball into over 50% in prices. But what is happening is that, you know, when you are calculating inflation, they use a basket of goods. And they don't just use some consumer goods, they use a lot of goods. And so sometimes the price of some may increase more than others. So if you take the average, it may appear reduced. But from the eyes of the consumer, they may even think the statistic is not correct because they are not considering the total volume of goods in the basket they use to calculate it. But if you look at it, if you spread it across many goods, then that is where you get that reasonable estimate. Otherwise, for consumer goods, directly, gari, cassava, I mean, those things that we consume every day, it is higher than that rate. It's just that you have to add other products to it because Nigerians are not diverse consumers. But most people agree that we consume a certain crop of goods. That's what they calculated with the consumer price index. You know, it's assumed that the average consumer, there are certain products that we put in that basket, which a typical Nigerian may not even consume most of the time. But normally, the basket is wider compared to what individual consumes. On an individual basis, looking at our rural areas, looking at our urban areas, the average consumer, the price may be higher than that relative to what the statistics says. So, like he said, if you call it cost push, structure is a form of cost push because structural inflation normally affects sellers from the seller's angle towards the buyers. So if you look at it from that angle, the difference is just that if it's a singular input, very important input, that flows into the total production process in a country, we don't just call it cost push.
Call it structural.
Call it structural because that one is going to be very more dynamic. It has more ripple effects across the country. If it is not structural, Nigerian Labour Congress will not be saying they are going on strike. If the price of bread goes up, it will not force Nigerian Labour Congress to say not to go on strike. So when the price of petrol goes up, you see everybody's... So it's more than cost push. It's more...
structural.
More structural.
Okay. All right, so he also said that, just as he also confirmed too, that because of the increase in petrol and also the exchange rate now, which has gone up, is what is responsible for this inflation now.
Yes.
Now, he was suggesting that Nigeria doesn't have any business in trying to float the dollar exchange to naira, that it should be fixed. Now, my question to that is that for a nation that is not producing, a nation that is highly dependent on foreign goods and services, can we fix our dollar exchange rate?
The truth is, in the ideal world, we should float the exchange rate. in the ideal world, because ultimately, it's like you want to cure a disease, you need to take a diagnostic test, you take time to administer treatment before it becomes effective. But if you just want to, maybe you have a little headache, you just want to take to douse the headache without dealing with the root causes. Then somebody will tell you, go and take any small tablet and you'll be fine in 30 minutes. But in about a week, it may come back again. Now, the long-term solution to economic exchange rate problems is usually to float it. Okay? That is the ultimate solution. The idea behind it is that if you allow it to float, the market responds. First of all, why are Nigerians so dependent on import goods? It's because we think we can afford it. Okay? So when you allow it to float, if the dollar becomes 3,000 naira per, $3,000, 3,000 naira per dollar, then Nigerians may have to look inward. We actually have local alternatives to most of the things we import. So it's just that easy money, we like that import angle. In the long-term solution, what happens if Nigeria becomes the next? We are looking at it from the fact that we're importing. If Nigeria begins to manufacture cars, manufacture chemicals, manufacture most of the things that it consumes,
then the dollar will go down.
No, it will become an advantage to us. We always look at it from the weak angle. There's a strong angle to it. If the dollar is 5,000 naira to a dollar, and Nigeria is a net exporter, then it is a plus to us. It means that for every time you export money, you earn hard dollars. That's what it means. It's because we are not an exporting nation. We are an import-dependent nation. Perpetually import-dependent. And so anytime something happens to the dollar, it becomes news. I'll give you an example. The dollar is far more valuable than the Japanese yen, for instance. More than the Chinese yuan. But it's not a problem. In fact, some countries deliberately devalue their currency.
For the dollar?
For the dollar, so that they will benefit from the global economy. China has done that for so many years. Japan did that for so many years. They tried, because they are mass exporters, it's no big deal. They enjoy it even when the dollar is very high. You know, it's not a big deal, but it's just because Nigeria is a net importer. So we must look at it. Are we trying to solve the palliative problem of that's the immediate problem, or want to solve the long-term problem? So it is not about just floating it. There are also strategies to ensure that the float does not kill us. For example, what are we exporting? What is government investment in the real sector to guarantee that what we lose in the external sector we are getting locally? When you spend, they spend about 60, 65, 100 million to import vehicles from another country for politicians. It's a signal that they don't care about the average person. What we should be, we have local manufacturers in this country who manufacture cars. So why don't the federal government, that's how you know that they are serious, direct the policy by patronizing our local car producers. In fact, in the Chinese model, if a Chinese president, Chinese president wants to give a contract to a country, and they see that a Chinese equivalent is more expensive, this is what the Chinese model does. They employ the Chinese. They use the Chinese contractors to do the job, even when it is more expensive. Because the advantage of that is that the money flows back to your country.
To them.
Okay? But our own, we have a certain penchant for foreign goods. So we believe our goods are not good enough. So what happens, even our politicians, by the way they express, by the consumption they make, you see that they also have this preference for these foreign things. Their children are going to school abroad. We spend close to $15, $20 million every month to take our children abroad. Okay? All their children. Then look at their wine, look at the suits that they wear, look at the things that the cars that they use, SUVs. They are all dollar dependent. So when you do that, and your behavior as a leader communicates that you have a preference for Western style products, you are going to teach your people to have the same preference. But assuming you hear there's a contract, federal government is signing a contract with this auto dealer to be the chief supplier of Nigerian automobiles. I mean, the federal government automobiles. States are signing contracts with local car manufacturers to manufacture these products. Then we will know that we are serious about production. So we are floating something on the one hand. We forget that there are fundamentals that drive that float. The real economy. What effort, what consistent effort is the government making to develop the real economy such that we jumpstart our export base and take advantage of the dollar high, if it is so high for us? Because we are not producing, that's why it's a problem. If we are producing, it is no problem. Let the dollar run to $1 million. It doesn't matter. Okay. And moreover, who even tells us we have to peg to the dollar? Some other countries, like the BRICS countries, Brazil, Indonesia, and Russia, they are trying to sign deals to get off the dollar, to begin to trade among themselves using their own local currencies. That will reduce the impact of the dollar on their economies. So why is Nigeria not part of that partnership? Okay, now so these are areas we can take advantage of. Instead of looking at the dollar, we can look at finding a way to form a network of partners who we agree to trade with each other with their local currencies, giving the naira a needed boost in another way. Why are we so tied to these IMF economics? Why don't we have simple sense economics?
Okay, all right, so big question there, but one thing that is so glaring, the reason why we're facing all that we're facing now is as a result of the fact that there's no local production. The economy, local economy as it relates to our production is on its lowest ebb. Bishop Akalame, how do we begin to go in this direction, you know, trying to promote local production now? Because when we talk about local production, of course, we'll talk about insecurity issues and all that. We'll talk about bank loan rates and all that So, Bishop, from your own experience as an economist now, security issue, bank rates on the high, loan rates on the high. So how do we begin to attend to all these issues?
You know, there's something you said just now that being our, the bane of our problem. We do not believe in ourselves. In everything, even knowledge. The clothes you wear today, the cars you drive. We just want to be foreigner. Do you know what I told you just now? Then some Nigeria will just go to New Benin Ring Road, convert their naira to dollars, just to attend the party. What happened to your local currency? So we don't even believe in it. I remember some time ago, the man at Unewi,
Innocent Motors. Yeah.
Somebody said the vehicle, they don't last, so there's no need for them. Even when some government, like the governor of Anambra State, have to make it compulsory for members of the House of Assembly to have those cars. Why? To promote our local production, to encourage us. You get? So this attitude, if you are wearing a suit now, you look at the suit. Is it? Where is it from? Is it foreign? Is it foreign?
About made or foreign?
Where should look at it? It's not about made. So you see, we have a problem. If we are going to restaurants, say please, not that we emphasize on Chinese restaurants. Instead that we are not going out. You go there to eat food, don't even understand, because we don't like what we do. Like now, if you organize a seminar, maybe you are going to Abuja for Rakos. When they look at the banner or look at the flyer, and they look at it, it's Dr. Bishop Akalame. Is it Nigeria? You know, but it's a white man. Even though it's a white man, but he lives in Nigeria, they prefer to identify with him. That is weird. That is the cautiousness. That's why you see that our local production is not growing. That's why we keep emphasizing on dollar.
But Bishop, before you go now, I remember the last administration now, former President Muhammadu Buhari, you know, that had to, you know, shut Nigeria out. You know, I mean, let's look inward. Let's forget about foreign production. And hence, that was what brought the revolution now in the production of local rice, if you like. It was the same you and I.
No.
It was the same you and I, Bishop, that started complaining.
Let me tell you why we complain. It's just like what Mr. President had just done. If you want to bring a policy on board, what do? There are needful. There are things you need to put in place. I told you just now. You have to prepare the people ahead of time. In everything, you have to be strategic so that when you do it, it will not affect the people. The multiplier effect will not be there. You get right now? So, if you say you want to shut the border so that things will not come in here, don't forget, we depend on each other. Because if you look at, there are some countries who are well down in some resources than others. That's why you see that. That's why we allow international trade. Because there are things you are not good at, you produce, but you cannot take these resources down there.
Yeah, but the effect is on us now. I mean, the
effect is on us. You say farmers will go to the farm, and the herdsmen will not allow the farmer to go to farm. There is no enabling environment. There is no security. So what are we talking about? So you must make sure that, okay, look at now. I was in Port Novo. I met a young man there from Benin here. We were discussing. He told me, he said, tell me the reason why he went to Port Novo, cross the Badagry, past the Igolo, enter Port Novo there. What are you doing here? He said he was a barber in Tesami. That he opened that shop. He said the very first week he opened that shop after paying for rent. There are those tax people coming from local government to disturb him. And then he will just come, he will buy fuel with the hope that he will at least cut one, maybe cut 1 or 2 or 3 heads today to make a living. Now you will even come there from morning till afternoon, no customer because it's a new business. Okay. Then you come, he said you come and pay tax. And he has not even, he has not eaten. Now the rent is there. He said he did it for 6 months, he didn't get anything. When the rent expired, there's no money to pay. You have to move out of the country.
All right, Bishop. I'll just allow you 1 minute because Abusha is ready now, so that we can hook up with them. So in all of all this, how do we go?
Yeah, like we say, solving a multi-dimensional problem requires a multi-dimensional approach. There's no one fix to Nigeria's problem. So that's why we need a comprehensive plan. We need to have a long-term projection. We need to absorb the shocks mentally before we get into the work. You get the point now? So it's just that the approach to our solving problems in Africa is a stopgap approach, ad hoc. Anytime you have a strategic plan and you communicate it properly, people absorb the shocks before the thing starts coming on. So what is the government putting in place? What is the vision of Nigeria in the next 5 years? If you cannot articulate it, you are a journalist with your level of learning. If somebody asks you what is the vision of Nigeria in the next 5 years, I can assure you, what do you think it is?
I may not readily answer that.
Nigeria does not have a vision. We don't have a plan for the next 5 to 10 years. But I'll tell you the vision of Dubai. I don't live there. Their vision is to move to smart cities, to move to the Internet of Things. They communicate it in primary school, in secondary school, in the university, in public space. All workers drive towards that area. What is our plan?
All right.
When there's no plan, there's no way. People just live in circles.
Okay, perhaps we may have to leave this segment here today. We still Nigeria is still experimenting, so to say. We just pray that we'll get it better.